Okay. Apparently thinking that I didn't have anything in my head to video or to post triggered my brain. So this is my hydroponics setup. And I know you can't see it very well, but that's okay. We have a cucumber here, and a cucumber here, and a tomato over here. Now the tomato is new. I found some volunteers, which means I didn't plant them. They were probably from previous years where a tomato got dropped or rotted or something, and it just stayed in the soil, and so we have some seedlings that came up all by themselves. I have them in odd places, so I decided to try one of them in the hydroponics test, and that's what this is. This is a seedling tomato, and you can see the little roots. Now those were roots that developed in the ground, so it may have a difficult time adjusting to being in the water. This cucumber is finally getting some roots that are actually digging down into the water, so I'm hopeful about that one. Now, a tomato is a huge plant, and I mean the cucumbers, they'll get roots on them, they'll go down into the water, you know, there shouldn't be any problems as long as the nutrients are correct. But a tomato, look at these tiny holes in this net pot. Those are so small. A tomato root is not going to be able to fit through that. So I decided to make a single change, and I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work because the tomato roots are just barely, when I do this, the tomato roots are just barely long enough to fit down into the water. So this is what I'm going to do. I have a water bottle. I cut the top off. I cut the bottom off. So essentially it's a tube. It narrows at the bottom. And that's what I want. I think this hole will be big enough for the tomato roots to go through. But here's the problem. As I take this out, I don't want to hurt the roots. Okay. I'll set that aside. Okay, so there's the root. There's the main root. That's just going to go straight through the hole. So I've got some more moss here that I'm going to pack around the tomato, and I'm hoping, I need to keep track of that root because the root needs to go through the bottom hole, and I'm hoping that the moss around it will keep it from falling through into the water. So I'm just packing it down a little bit, and then I'll pull and hope. Okay, now there's the root. You can see the root coming out the bottom, and I'm hoping that there will be enough. I was concerned about the top being too tall, but if it's too tall, we'll work with it. We can cut it off more easily than we can put it back. So in order to make sure that the moss stays hydrated, I need a long piece of the sphagnum moss, and I'm not finding any at the moment. There's a good one. And I'm going to tuck it up in here, and that's going to create a wick, okay, to keep the moss hydrated. So hopefully, if that will stay, and I think it will, tuck all that down inside again to make sure. Okay, now I should be able to put that down in the water. Okay, now there's a good space. There's a good ½ inch to an inch between the bottom of the bottle and the top of the water, which is not necessarily a good idea when you're trying to acclimate this particular seedling to growing in straight water. And so I'm going to adjust this. I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference, but I'm adjusting this so that there's a more of a slant to it. And that root should be able to sit down and see. It's just like half an inch now. So I'll do some more adjusting, but that should be sufficient for that plant to get the nutrients it needs. And if necessary, let me switch you around here. Okay, is that better? Whoop. Plastic. Okay, so here's the bottle, and it's just it's just sitting on top of the grid, the same as the others, and I just pushed it down a little bit so that the water is only about half an inch below the top of the bottle. So I'll be watching that, and we will see how it does. If that works, then we should be able to, and when the tomato starts to get bigger, we'll cut the top off and find a way to support it. But if that works, then that tomato should be coming out of the water and filling up the bottle in the next week or so. Talk to you later.